Property Investing for Women, empowering women to build wealth through property. A podcast brought to you by Investor Women. Create, nurture, prosper.
Hello and welcome to another episode where I take you through a woman's journey of property investing. Today I have the pleasure of sharing the story of someone who has built her portfolio alongside her husband for over 10 years. She is a property stylist by profession, and so let's see how she started her investing journey. Let's welcome our lovely client, Bethany Lever. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I am good.
That's
And yourself?
good. Yeah, good.
So let's tell everyone, who is Bethany and property styling?
Yes.
So how did that come about? Who is Bethany? Why do you do property styling? All about yourself.
Yes. So obviously you know who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a mum of two, so I've got two beautiful little kids, a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Very cute, I know that.
Yes, they are. And I have a property styling company as well. So we style homes for sale in Sydney.
Mm-hmm.
So between being a mum, being a wife, owning a business, property investing, it's a busy life that we have.
Sounds like it.
Yes.
And why property styling?
I think I got into it, so my husband and I were renovating a property when we were quite young, and we had got it styled for sale, and I realised that I actually really liked that side of the renovation journey a lot, and so I ended up studying property styling,
Right.
hoping to get a job in the industry. I found it quite hard to get a job in the industry at the time. The jobs that were on offer, people were wanting stylists with experience. So I thought, okay, well, I'll start my own company then and see how that goes. So, I started that and, was hiring some furniture to begin with. And then we just slowly started to invest into our own stock and build it up from there. So
that's like starting a business pretty much on your own without
Yes.
having that experience. Now, starting a business, that itself would have been quite stressful.
yes.
How did you do that?
Yes. So I was still working full time. I was a flight attendant at the time.
Okay.
So thankfully, I guess my shifts were, I was doing shift work. So it was easy for me to juggle, starting a business because I might finish at 8 o'clock in the morning from my full-time job. So I could still work, during the day to build up the business. So I was tired, but I was able to juggle the two, and we didn't have kids at the time either, so it was easy to...
Full of passion at the time,
So,
the
yeah.
energy
Yeah.
kept you going.
Yes, exactly.
So the cash flow was maintained by your job while you were... So how
Yes.
did you find your clients? Where did you go? Prospecting and
So
however...
I remember my first... walk around, I thought, right, I'm going to go to a few open homes. I'm going to meet some agents and, just let them know who I am. And I was pretty much just hoping that someone would give me a go. And I did. I had this one agent. He said, righto, he gave me a job. And and then that one job led to a second install, for him. And it just sort of kept snowballing from there, really. So
That's beautiful. You
Yeah.
must have done a fantastic job to impress him. Well,
must have.
Yes. So when did property investing come into place? Like
So-
how did you get started? Because when I was talking to you, I remember you said something about your father got you started, right?
Yes.
So let's go back all the way to the beginning.
To where it started.
Yeah.
So I guess when I was in high school, I was quite a good student in high school, but I didn't really want to go to uni as such. I didn't know what I wanted to do.
As we all are at that young age, we don't
Yes,
know.
I didn't know.
No.
And my dad had actually said to me, he said, "Do you know what I think is a great job, for a young girl? You should look at flight attending. And, you can travel the world, and things like that." And I thought, okay. And he said, "Look, if you end up getting a full-time job, I will put up the deposit and we can buy a house together, but you need to contribute to 50% of the repayments." And he really wanted me to learn, how to renovate a property, understand how the tax return gets done at the end of the year, how negative gearing works. So my dad's very much, he won't just tell me about something, he makes me do it. You need
Then
to...
you learn it
Yeah,
really
that's how you
well.
learn, you have to do it. So
Very good dad.
Yes,
Good dad.
he is. So that's where that started. So I was 20 at the time, and we bought a property in Singleton. So on my days off, I was going up there, you know, for 2 days at a time. We would renovate, and he was showing me, you know, how to do some gyprocking and, you know,
And
how to
old
put
were
up
you
corners.
at the time?
20, you know, how to put up corners. And I remember Danny, he was my boyfriend at the time, now husband, we went up there and we thought, oh, this lounge room, great. We'll paint this, we'll go out for lunch, you know, once we're done. There was no going out for lunch. That took us all day, and it was just the two of us. So
You mentioned Denny, that is like love in the air, right?
Yes, yep. I know, early love, you know, back in the early days. So, yeah, and it made us realise these jobs take a lot longer than what you actually think it does, you know. So, yeah.
When you're doing it yourself.
When you do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
And how did that end with that?
Yeah, so my dad and I held it for a few years, and it was rented out to a company, and we pretty much just decided, you know, once my dad had left, so this was in a mining town, once my dad had left that town, he was out of the mines. And he said, you know, what if we look at selling that, and then you can sort of use your portion, you know, look at doing something else. So, yeah, so we ended up selling that.
And how long after buying it and doing it up?
Probably 5 years, I think we held that for. So, yeah, so a good couple of years.
So then by that time, did you learn the tax return side of things?
Yes, I did. Yes,
what else
definitely
did you learn?
got the renovation bug. So Danny and I ended up buying a property in southwest Sydney that we ended up renovating ourselves. So it was pretty much the cheapest home on the market at the time, and that was what we bought. And I think our thought process behind buying that was that we could buy a house, round numbers, it was around 530,000, but duplexes were selling for say 750, and we thought, well, if we could renovate this home, surely it should be worth similar money to a duplex at 750, even though this is an older home. So that was our thought process with that, and it paid off, which was good. So yeah, but again, that one we were very hands-on. We were doing it all ourselves. My dad was there as well with us, and
so you were not married at this time?
We weren't married at the time. No.
Okay.
No.
And then fast forward, how many years later you got married, and how did life go from
probably there? Well, Danny and I have been married 10 years now, so we probably did that project about 13 years ago, I think. So yeah, so a good couple of years ago. But we ended up buying that property because we couldn't afford the home that we wanted. And we thought, okay, we need about an extra $100,000. So how are we going to get that? And we didn't want to ask our parents for money. So that's why we bought that property, so we could do a flip, make the cash, and then, you know, buy our own home that we could live in. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, saving that kind of money would take forever.
It's too hard.
Yeah,
too hard, you know. So that project, you know, took longer because we did all of the work ourselves. It was about a 9-month project, but we got a lot of growth out of it as well, you know, even just in those 9 months. So it, you know, obviously it's longer than what you would want to spend on a normal renovation project, but it paid off for us.
Yeah,
anyway,
well, you were still young at the time, trying to
figuring
learn
out
what to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And then from there?
From there, so we bought our own home from there, which we love. So it's a beautiful acreage property, which I know you and Victor have been out to. So so we bought that, and yeah, we love it. We really love it there.
It's lovely.
Yeah. So we bought that, and then a few years later, we did buy a few properties up on the Gold Coast, sort of quite quickly after each other, you know, maybe within a year or two, you know, of each other, I guess. And we bought those, and then after that we pretty well sort of had a bit of a pause in buying. That was when we were getting married, and then I started the business and things like that, and we sort of ended up, you know, investing.
Exciting stuff's
money.
happening.
Yes,
Life's changing.
We were busy.
It's a different thing happening, different stage. Why Gold Coast?
So we, as you know, we used a different buyer's agent before you guys, and that was pretty much what we were sort of, you know, being told was a great area, you know, you should buy in here. And at the time, the entry point there was great. You know, they were $250,000, $300,000 properties, so it was really good price point. And yeah, we just thought, well, you know what, it's a beautiful part of the world. There are a lot of people that migrate from Sydney and Melbourne that head up there, so we know that it's an increasing population. So we thought, okay, well, why not do it?
So those ones you haven't sold yet?
We
or
haven't
you
sold,
yeah,
no,
you
haven't
kept
sold them yet.
Okay.
So we've had them for, a good 10 years, I'd say. Yeah.
So then you get married, and what happens then?
Yes,
after
so
that?
we got married, and then pretty well shortly after was when I started the business. So that was, I guess investing money into that, so buying stock and things like that. So we really didn't invest for, a good couple of years, I think.
So were you still doing the flight attendant stuff, or you were just fully?
Was only for a few months. So I started the business in the June, and by the October I had, finished up flying and was doing the property styling full time.
Beautiful.
So so it was only a few months of juggling, which was good.
Wow.
So yeah.
And so now you continue to invest, and that's pretty much like after the pause you had. Then when did you get started again? Like you got married, right?
Yes.
And then after that milestone, how long after then you got?
Yes. So probably about 4 years, I think, later. I think we got married in the 2016, and it was around 2020, which was when COVID hit. We were really wanting to get back into things. And I remember at the time, because my husband does a lot of the paperwork side of things, so he was getting everything ready to refinance. He just needed to have sent a piece of paper back and things would have been underway. But, you know what it's like, you get busy and you just put it off. And within a week or so, he was stood down from his job, when COVID hit. And that was a huge lesson for us to learn, that we needed to have gotten our paperwork done really quickly. Because we couldn't refinance things, and we were really stuck in the loans that we were in. So,
Wow.
that was tricky. And so that was maybe 2 years of, waiting. He would sort of go back to work for a little bit, and then, we'd be stood down again, with lockdowns and things. So that really put a bit of a dampener on things.
COVID did a lot.
It hurt a lot of people. So there was a point where he was able to go back to work, and we were able to get everything refinanced. And during that time was when we met with you and Victor. And we ended up buying a property. I can't remember if this was the first one that we bought with you guys or not, but it was pretty much just a flip down in Geelong. So it was really just so that we thought, well, we've got the money there. We're not working, Danny wasn't working. How about we just make a little bit of money on the side, and then we can, properly start buying again, once he's back at work. So
I want to take you back. Actually, you said that during COVID, you wanted to you didn't put that one paperwork in, and you learned your big lesson then, right?
Yes.
But the 2 years that you were without, so how did you manage all of that? Like, did you beat yourself up that not doing it, or how did you go
we
through
were
that?
annoyed, and I think at the time we were going through. We had a broker at the time, and they were sort of saying, I don't know whether you can get this refinanced or not. And we ended up getting in with a new broker, which has been a lot better. So I think that was a big lesson as well, is finding someone who can make things happen for you. So
the team's important.
It is.
Yeah, the people who understand what you're trying to do and act fast as well.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when you started back again after the pause, you did a flip, right?
Yes.
And then you complicated it with it being interstate.
I know.
Wow.
I know.
How did that go?
That, and we had a young child at the time, he was maybe a year or two old, so that was busy in itself. We were really lucky. So that property we bought with you guys, and thankfully Victor had a recommendation for a builder who could do the renovation for us. And we were so thankful for that recommendation, because he was wonderful. He did the whole project for us from start to finish. And he was great. He was working in with us. He understood, you know, we were both busy people, you know, with a little one as well. So he, every night, 8 o'clock, we did a 10-minute phone call. He would let us know what happened for the day and if he had any questions, and then that was that. And so every day, and it was just a great routine, I guess, for us to all be in, that we weren't hassling him during the day, he wasn't hassling us, and the job just got done. So that was wonderful.
That would be different for you because you had done hands-on before yourself, right?
Yes.
How did you let go of that and get someone else to do it?
I think it's easy. If it's interstate, I guess it's easier because you know it's too hard, you can't do it yourself. I think if it was in Sydney, it'd be really tricky. You'd think, oh, I'll go down there, I'll go and do that, you know. So I think being interstate, it made us have to make that break, you know. And we actually really enjoyed it, you know.
So is there any benefit, like if it, now having experienced that, I'm just wondering if there is any benefit, even if now, if it was in Sydney, would you then still go yourself, or you'd use somebody else to just do it?
So we have done a few in Sydney since then. My husband, I guess because he's still really hands-on, he's like, no, I'll go and do it. You know, I'll go in there at night and, you know, and he'll do things. But we do have a lot of trades that do things. So, you know, obviously like the painting and the flooring and things like that. It's more, I guess, you know, any sort of cleanup or demolition, or like my husband will put in the kitchen and things like that. My dad's there as well, you know, they're putting the bench top in. And so some things, you know, they'll do. I'm not as hands-on as what I used to be, I think, because of the business and the 2 kids as well. It's a bit tricky to be hands-on, even though I want to be. But
I know. You're always itching to do something with
property.
I know,
yes, exactly.
So what happens next from that flip?
Yes, so from that flip, we had bought a few more properties with you guys. So I'd have to remember in which order these ones were, but I know I was very heavily pregnant, and I think it was a Thursday night, and Victor must have made contact with Danny and said, there's some properties going to auction on Saturday. I think you should check these out. And Danny, being Danny, yeah, sure, why not? And, you know, Friday, I remember there was 4 pest and building reports, and Danny had said to me, you need to read these pest and building reports and pick which one, you know, number them 1, 2, 3, 4, as to which one you think looks best. And I went and met with Victor at these auctions. I was heavily pregnant, you know, due in 2 weeks.
I think there's something with heavily pregnant women in auctions. I remember I was heavily pregnant with our purchase at here in Minto when we had, I was there at the auction with
putting your hand up. Yeah, I know. I think it's that time pressure, isn't it? You just need to get something done. So, so we bought that one, and I remember meeting with Victor pretty much at the auction, and that one has been really great. So, and then since then there was another one, again, Southwest Sydney. That came up. I wasn't too keen on this property in particular, and I know there were a few phone calls with Victor.
What was the thing?
So this property, it had been lived in, you know, for 50 years by the same people. There was a lot of junk inside, which didn't bother me too much, but it was very overgrown. You couldn't see the front of the house. When we looked at the property, we couldn't even see it. We didn't even see the backyard. We just got to the back door. I think the thing that scared me a bit with this one was, you know, there were lots of roots and things under the house. But, you know, I guess after talking with Victor, in terms of what the end game plan is on that property, it's fine. You know, it'll do its job, you know, for what you need it to do. So, so we bought that one. And then there was a very similar one down towards the south coast that Victor had brought to Danny's attention. Quite often they usually, you know, oh, hey, we need to jump on this one. It's, you know, it's just come across his desk. I'm going down there. Victor will go down there that day, check it out, send us a video. And
this was back in year
this one, 2023, maybe this one. And so we went and checked it out. So again, Danny's, you know, doing a fair bit of the work on that one with my dad. You know, it was quite overgrown and things like that. So there was that. And then there's, in between that, there's been a few sort of interstate ones as well. So,
So you've been collecting all these properties as you're going. So now you've come to you've been doing this for over 10 years now, right?
Yes.
So what's next?
I think, we're still, I guess, in that buying and accumulating phase. We're not really at the age where we're wanting to start consolidating and selling things off yet. So still wanting to keep buying. A lot of the sites that we've got, we can put duplexes, either a granny flat or a duplex or subdivide. So I think that's sort of also mixed in with the plan as well. We're doing a renovation at the moment. It started last week, so a bit of renovating in the mix as well. I know Danny is really particular on, he wants to get a unit block. I think it's just so he can tick it off his list and say that he's done that. So I know that's on the card somewhere, but yeah.
So the last few years, the properties that you've bought, are they different to the properties that you bought in the beginning in the Gold Coast?
Yes.
So
very different. So the Gold Coast properties have been wonderful. They've more than doubled, if not tripled, in value, but they are strata titled. And the strata fees up there are really expensive, and even just having the water usage, connection, that is really expensive, council rates and things like that. So the cost of holding those properties is quite expensive compared to, say, the properties that we've been buying with you guys, which are more of a freestanding house. So they are quite different, and I guess the ones we've been buying more recently, we feel are a lot better because we can do more with it.
There's a purpose there's something you can do with.
Yes.
Right. So I'm just trying to see, because you had used a buyer's agent before, right? And then because you've totally did a total flip and okay, so what made you choose a different buyer's agent? Why did you switch?
I think I guess as you first meet with someone, you're like, yep, this is the way that we want to go. And then, you start working with someone and then you sort of start to realize, I just don't think we're the right fit. They're not the type of person, that we would usually do business with, I guess. But we also felt like we were just a number. And a lot of the time the properties had already been negotiated on. And by the third property, we realised they only negotiated $10,000 off. And at the time, that was what their fee was. So you pretty much just paid full price for the property.
Oh, okay, yes.
But what annoyed us, I guess, was the property was already negotiated on. They needed a client to buy it. Otherwise, they looked bad. So once we figured that out, we were like, this is not for us. We're going to find, someone who aligns more with our values and is looking for a property that suits us and our needs, not just, they just need a client to buy it to get it off their books.
Yeah, well, that's sad, isn't it?
Yes,
that's very sad.
Yeah.
And so during this phase of buying all these properties, how do you manage running your business, the children, that many properties now, and keeping up with paperwork and all the rest of it? What's your go?
Yes. So obviously I run the business. Danny, even though he, is a good sounding board for me, he's not actually in the business. And obviously we both look after the kids, really well and share that. Whereas Danny manages the paperwork side of the property investing, so paying of the bills and things like that. And I guess, say if there are any renovations and things like that, we'll usually create a schedule of works, which is usually my job. So, creating a full document that we can send off to the builder so that he knows this is the colour of the bench top that I want. I just want plain white matte splashback, things like that. It's very simple, but it just keeps it on track. And because at the end of the day, it is our property, right? You want it to look somewhat how you want it to look, when it's getting renovated. So, so I think we sort of share the role in that sense. He sort of keeps on top of that type of paperwork and I do the schedule of works and things.
That's good. You both are kind of on the same level.
Yes.
And so you would have had lots of ups and downs, right? And I just wanted to know, what was the really bad experience that you had in property investing?
Yes. To be honest, we haven't really had anything too bad as such. There was a property that Danny and I wanted to purchase, and we didn't have enough money to buy it, and it was a home that we wanted as our forever home. And it was 100 acres, in like South. I know. And at the time, we were about $100,000 too short, and that was why we bought that renovation property, the one where we thought, well, if a house is worth this much, but a duplex is worth this much, surely we can make $100,000 here, and then we can buy, the big acreage property. So that was.
But then you didn't buy it then.
We didn't buy it, so it had sold. We missed out on that one, which we're to this day still devastated about. And it, at the time, I guess once we'd sold that flip, when we were looking around, there wasn't really anything on the market that we loved. There might have been, I guess 100 acres doesn't pop up all the time. There was maybe one or two, but the blocks just weren't right. It wasn't.
Oh, the 100 acres, I know. You do horses, right?
I do.
We didn't do the
horses. The horses, I know. I'm going out tomorrow actually to ride. So yes, that's why we need the acreage.
Where are you going for that?
Just down to Camden.
Okay.
Just down there. So which would be nice. Little competition / training day. So that'll be good. So that'll be good.
Wow.
So we ended up buying the property that we have got, which is 13 acres, so it's a bit different to the 100 acres, but it had the really nice house. So we thought, okay, we'll compromise on the land and we'll get the nice house, because if we bought the 100 acres, we'd be living in a shack, so which we didn't mind, but
But it's always there. You can come back to it if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Would you look at doing the 100 acres?
We'd
again?
consider it. And you would know the price of acreage, particularly out in our area, has gone through the roof. So I think to do that would be selling off, some other properties or something like that to. But to get
I
that.
guess if that's your dream home,
yes,
and you've accumulated all these properties, this is what you can do, right?
That's
if you wanted to do that.
That's why you invest, right? So that you've got flexibility and options, down the track. But at the end of the day, we love where we live, so I don't think we're planning to move anytime soon anyway. So
I guess you've got all these properties now, and then focus on eliminating the debts, and then come to that realization, because children would have grown up a little bit more at that time. And it's interesting how our thinking changes as time goes on, right?
It does.
In your 20s you think differently, in your 30s you think differently.
You do.
And the requirements, the demands are different. So
it is. It is.
So what was one great achievement during this whole journey? What's something that's
probably buying our own home, because it was a price. I remember when we first walked in there, I knew straight away we could buy this at full asking price if we wanted to, so that was a really exciting moment, that we found a property and we really loved it, and we knew we could afford it and afford it comfortably. We bought it 11 years, this month actually, 11 years ago, and it has now tripled. So that's been a really great investment for us. And then from there we can leverage from that, to buy other properties too. So I think buying our own home and still loving it and being comfortable where we are, I think has been a really great achievement.
That's quite a long, stretched out journey, right?
Yes.
You've done a lot in those years. And so tell me, if you were to do it all over again,
yes,
what would you have done differently, if there was anything?
I don't know. I don't know if there is really anything, from starting back, say, when I was 20, doing the renovating, hands-on with my dad, like I've learnt so much from doing that side of things. I don't know. I mean, maybe the Gold Coast ones, even though they have grown really well and the rents have grown really well with them, we just really hate that there's strata attached to them, because we know how much we spend on, say, the houses, and it doesn't really cost us, $5,000-7,000 a year, whereas that's what the strata is costing us. So it's, that's probably, I guess, one regret, that we've got some strata properties, but hey, they're doing their job, they're paying for themselves, so,
Well, it's something, if you wouldn't have learned that if you hadn't done them, right?
Exactly.
So
Yeah. So I think those properties in particular, I remember they didn't grow for a long time, and a good couple of years they literally hardly grew. And I was saying to Danny, can we just sell these? Like, this is a dud, we need to move on. And he was firm no. We're not selling them. They will grow. You just need to wait.
Yeah.
And within a year or two, they just took off. So I think that was a good lesson for me. Don't get impatient and want to sell something because you think it's not working. Just ride the wave and it will grow.
And then understanding the market cycle as well just helps.
Exactly.
Because you could have bought it like at the beginning and then it was not going to take off for maybe 7 years.
Yes,
yeah, so
exactly.
that would be something really painful to sit on for
Yes,
that long.
it was. So.
We all have something like that in our portfolios.
Yes.
So what's the outlook for the next 10 years?
I think, again, still, accumulate, where we can. Put some granny flats on there, I think we'll start off with a few granny flats first and then build up to some duplexes. There's a particular property in Brisbane which we've got earmarked for a duplex on the back and still keeping the existing house on the front. So I think, start doing that, build, some more cash flow, and using what we've got already. So, I think that's in the pipeline for the next 10 years.
So if someone is starting out in investing,
yes,
what would you like to say to them? It depends again on whether they're a 20-year-old or 30-year-old, or the messaging would be different. I guess. Yeah.
I think knowledge is king. You need to research. Go on social media. There are so many buyers agents, tax accountants, property valuers. There's so many people on there that are giving out free information. And I know that a lot of people at home sit on the lounge and they play on their phone. Play on your phone and watch those type of videos, not, just basic videos, So really start to educate yourself, podcasts, books and things like that. But I think as well, don't be afraid to hire a professional, even though you've done all of this research, which you need to do whether you hire a professional or not to help you. Don't be afraid to hire someone to get them, to help you along. I know for us in particular, we're really busy people that if we didn't have you guys as part of our team, we wouldn't have bought the amount of properties that we've bought. But it's because we've got someone who's pushing us, nicely, but is pushing us, and we really love that because otherwise, we get busy in our day-to-day life. So, I think, learn, do as much, reading and watching as you can, hire a professional, and learn to trust the process as well, trust the professional, and I guess do your research on the professionals that you're hiring, whether that's a broker or a buyer's agent or, making sure you've got a great accountant, things like that, don't just settle for someone because, your friend's friend said to use this person, do your own research and make sure they're the right fit for you.
That's good.
Yeah.
Something you mentioned was social media. There are lots of professionals and all the rest of it. So how does one decipher what is
I don't know. There is a lot of information out there, and I think probably cross-referencing it with whether say if one person is saying this thing, are other people saying the same sorts of things, or if they're saying something, go on the ATO, see if that looks like it's correct. Does that look like the correct type of rule or something like that? So, because there is a lot of information out there. And I guess probably watching or reading the information from trusted sources, people who are there doing it. I know, say particularly in your industry, there are a lot of buyers agents out there.
Yeah.
But some of them have got, 5 properties maybe, you want someone who is there doing it every day and has, experienced multiple cycles, so really find someone who has been there and done that, not just someone who's starting out, because it's tricky. It's not to say that someone starting out isn't great, but I guess if you're also starting out, it's you
need to be guided by
someone who's got a lot of experience.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, thank you for having me on your podcast. It's always lovely to catch up with you. So thank you.
Well, we'll be enjoying our lunch soon.
We will. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap. I hope you liked it as much as I did. So till the next episode, stay tuned.
Be information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property, or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned. This podcast has been brought to you by Investor Women.